Hello, everybody, and welcome to this conversation with two fascinating guests this month. I have Lisa Spader, who is the co founder and president of Global Pearls, and she is joining me from San Juan in Washington. Hi, Lisa.
Hi.
I also have Nakinti Nofuru, who is the executive director of Rescue Women Cameroon, also known as REWOCAM, and she is joining us from Kumba, Cameroon. Hello, Nakinti. Welcome.
Hello,
This is
thank
the
you.
first time that we are doing Cameroon, and it is our absolute pleasure to have both of you here. So, you have a fascinating project, interesting issues for us to cover. So, Lisa, why don't you go ahead and share your PowerPoint presentation with us?
Sure. We are just so grateful to be here. We felt like we won the lottery when we were chosen to be a featured grantee. So we're excited to share our project Fighting Child Rape in Cameroon. I am the president of Global Pearls. At Global Pearls, our goal is to support local people around the world who are real powerhouses in their community that are passionate about addressing local issues. They have great ideas about how to tackle the issues and have the connections and resourcefulness needed to successfully implement their ideas. Nakinti is a perfect example. She is a fearless woman who is driven to address the issue of gender-based violence in Cameroon. With us, we're really focused on empowering our partners. So once we choose partners like Nakinti, we work with them as needed to help design and strategize their projects. We help them raise funds for their work. But from the start, they're in the lead, not us. We don't tell them what to do. We let them tell us what they want to do and what support they need from us to make it happen. And so that's what we've done with Nakinti. Child rape is a very personal issue close to Nakinti's heart that she really wanted to address. And so we had a pilot camp last year just to see how it worked. And now with the RISE grant, we're going to be expanding that work, and we're really excited about it. Nakinti?
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you for introducing our work. We are REWOCAM. We work in Cameroon to empower women, but we are particularly focused on issues around gender-based violence. That is what has brought us to this important and very good project that we term Child Rape that RISE is sponsoring for us. In Cameroon, gender-based violence is a very serious issue because quite often, let's talk a little bit about battery. Men do not only think that they can just beat their women, they feel like it's an obligation to beat their women to correct them. And so we are tackling gender-based violence head on, especially in the area of rape, because since the Anglophone crisis that we call the Anglophone War started in Cameroon, we have had an increased number of children who are raped on a daily. If you go to social media, people's timelines are talking about children that are raped here and there, and we cannot continue to just sit and listen and comment and go back to our beds, eat and sleep. We have to tackle this issue in order to reduce the incidences of rape in our communities. And so that is why we are here today to talk about how we can train children to know about rape, to know about their sexual organs, to know about how to build their safety networks, to know about everything that they can do to fight the issue of rape. And it's important for us to do that. And we are not only talking to girls this time, our pilot focused on girls last year. This year, we are not only talking to girls, we are bringing in boys as well. So that as we are teaching girls how not to get raped, how to fight rape, we are as well bringing boys to tell them that it's not okay to rape, and this is the consequences if you do so. Okay. We are fighting gender-based violence in Cameroon to improve the lives of women and girls, because women have been sidelined a lot in Cameroon, a lot, to the extent that we have lost our voices. It is only a few women, those who have even been to school, those who have managed to reach the tertiary level, who have the little courage to stand up and say, okay, enough is enough, this is not okay. And we want to be the voices and encourage more women across Cameroon, across Africa, across the world to use their voices to advocate against gender-based violence. We want to raise the voices of children who are victims, who are survivors, who cannot tell their stories, who cannot defend themselves. We want to stand in the gap for them and tell them they can do it. That's why we are here for this project. We want to spread the message across. We have been doing so. I particularly have a very huge social media following. And so whatever we are doing, we are putting it across to TV stations, to radio stations, blogging. We are doing everything humanly possible so that we can reach not only women, but men as well, to put our message across. And most importantly, we are using the power of mentorship to raise more voices across Cameroon or across Africa. We are not only doing the work by ourselves, we are spreading the work, teaching others how to do it, and empowering them financially with monies and funds that we get from Global Pearls, so that we can empower more and more women who can raise their voices on issues around GBV. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Lisa and Nakinti, for doing this really very, very important work. So, Lisa, let me start with you. It's unfortunate that we're seeing this in countries across the world, that there is this lingering impact of post-colonialism, the ethnic warfare, and kind of disturbances that just create these situations that make it harder to fight against gender-based violence. Tell me how exactly it is playing out in the work that both your organizations are doing with boys and with men.
Well, when I visited Cameroon, I actually trekked through the jungle communities from village to village, and I was really shocked because every man that I met and spoke with believed that they must beat their wives or their wives will not feel loved. And over and over again, all men would nod and agree, oh, yep, that's true. You have to beat your wives. And they felt these were good men who just felt it was their obligation to beat their wives or they wouldn't feel loved. I did not find a single woman who agreed, but it was pervasive, unanimous men. So it's part of the culture. And we really feel that if we're going to make good progress in improving the lives of women, we also need to reach the men and change their viewpoint. And so this time we're going to have 4 child rape camps per year, and 1 of the 4 will be devoted to boys, 3 will still be devoted to girls. But also Nakinti mentioned the women that she mentors to start their own projects in other parts of Cameroon. One of the projects that we funded is one that is specifically working with boys and men to try to change that culture. So little by little, we're hoping not only to empower women to protect themselves from rape, but also change the underlying culture with the boys and men so that it is no longer condoned or even considered an obligation.
Absolutely. So, Nakinti, I can understand the monumental task ahead of you to create cultural change. But even in Western societies, Lisa will agree with me, we struggle with this power dynamic between men and women. Even in the corridors of power, the military, sexual assault, protecting the victim, and then, protecting the person who brings up the accusation, let's not call them a victim, and then to being fair in all these legal cases. I know this is a monumental task all across the world, but can you tell us what inroads you're able to make, maybe on the legal side, maybe political change, cultural change?
It's the same thing. Cameroon is facing the same thing that other women or other countries are facing. We have big problems with the legal system. That is one of the things that we are struggling to fight, because the security officials who are supposed to protect women most often do not protect them. And so quite often, if you meet women or girls who have been raped and you ask them, have you gone to the police? Because that is one of the procedures. They are part of the referral system. Have you gone to the police? The response is usually, even if I go there, what are they going to do? And so that is one of the things that we are struggling to fight. I remember once when I took a little girl of about 14 who was constantly raped. It was a forced marriage thing. And unfortunately, I met the commissioner of the gendarmerie. No, it was a police state district. I met the police commissioner and explained the story to him. And the little girl was standing right by him. And surprisingly, he turned and looked at that little girl and said, you have beautiful breasts, eh? That to me was harassment. That is not something he was supposed to say to a little girl who was a victim, who was a survivor, and it pained me a lot. And I had to tell him, don't say this next time, you are not supposed to say it. And he said, I'm appreciating nature. That's not how you appreciate nature. So we are struggling to involve everybody within the legal system. And one of the biggest authorities in Cameroon, which is I can call it division to division, is the State Council. So I have taken upon myself to go to the office of the State Council, the senior State Council for Meme Division, which Kumba is part of, and told him about this upcoming project that RISE is sponsoring. And so he is ready to work with us. And he says he's going to help us to send a letter across to all the security offices and tell them, and social offices and centers, and tell them to send in data so that we can work with the data for the entire duration of our project to see how we are making progress.
Absolutely. So there's so much to be done. You got to collect the data to see what the, how bad is the situation, so you can build a case for the laws. Okay, but the laws may be far into the future, whether it's for Cameroon, it's for all the countries where we're dealing with gender-based violence. The power dynamic, the cultural changes, they all seem to take so much time. I'm sure both of you will agree, right? We need to have more women at the table and their allies at the table, right? So that we can create these cultural shifts. So Nakinti, what can we do while we wait for the laws to be passed and we wait for societies to enforce these laws? What are some other options that we have to create change in society?
Build stronger women to start advocating. That is what we have been doing and will continue to do it. When we ran the Survivor Voices Against Rape project, we just wanted to bring in these 30 women and empower them to raise their voices, make some noise, use social media, use TV, cut across TV stations in Cameroon so that people can get the message. Because I believe, and in REWOCAM we do believe, that if more and more women stand up to say, I was raped, and by this person, we are going to instill fear in perpetrators to tell them that if I do this thing to this child today, tomorrow she is going to raise her voice and tell the world about it. So I'm not going to do it. So we are raising more women with strong voices so that others can be inspired. They can also raise their own voices. So together we can make some noise and spread the word across. Not only in Cameroon, but across the world. That is what we are trying to do. So as we are working by raising voices and talking about this, we are also working side by side with the legal system to see how we can work things together.
Absolutely. So you're using social media. I do hear that you have been hearing from lots of different countries. Women activists have been contacting you across the African Union. So what exactly are your future plans? What do you hope to happen in the next decade, for instance?
I hope to spread my work across Africa. That is what I want to do. That's my biggest dream. My biggest dream is to create my organization or enable more women to pick up the work I'm doing and do it across Africa. And maybe someday say, I picked up this work from Cameroon and I am replicating what they are doing and doing better. It takes a lot of courage. I remember, let me just say something very briefly. I remember when I started sharing my story on social media, I shared my story in 5 parts on 5 different days about my rape as a child. And one of the biggest backlash that I had was not only from men, but from women as well. Like, why did you stay silent for 24 years? And some men like, stop telling that stupid story, because no one is going to get married to a girl who has been raped. So it takes a lot of guts, a lot of power, a lot of women with courage to be able to stand up and do this work. That is what we are looking for. When we were running our conference, we told these women that come together, be ready to speak out. If you know that you are not ready to speak out or you are ashamed, do not come. It means this conference is not for you. These are the kind of women that we are sourcing out from in Africa, who can be those strong voices, who can stand and say anything, anywhere, anytime, without fear of prejudice.
Absolutely. There is so much work to be done. So, Lisa, any last thoughts about what Global Pearls is doing to support organizations in Cameroon? And because there's so much therapy and support that young women and girls are going to need across time.
Yeah, we're just really excited. Cameroon is the country where we have the most work going on. We have 4 partners in Cameroon, and they're all tackling things from a different perspective. Nakinti is really focused on the gender-based violence. We have another partner who is working to give skills for, all of this has really stemmed from the fact that there's been a huge displaced population. Hundreds of thousands of Cameroonians have fled the rebel-controlled areas and have been flooding into towns like Kumba, and they are agriculturalists, but they have no land. So how do they survive? And so girls turn to prostitution, men turn to crime, oftentimes. And so we're trying to build up the skills of both men and women of these displaced people so that they can find new jobs in a town setting. We have another partner that is really working on the education of orphans and displaced children and bringing joy and love back into their lives. We have a dance program and just fun stuff. And so it's really neat to work with the different partners. They're all kind of tackling the same issues from a different standpoint. And it's really fun for us to be a part. They are the heroes. And we just feel so honored to be able to work with such incredibly dynamic, impactful people.
Nakinti, it has been our honor to associate with you and your wonderful work. You are a firebrand personality, and we wish you the absolute luck in completing this project and moving on to something bigger and beautiful. And we hope that this will take less time than all the 3 of us believe it would. And let's hope that we can get more women and girls and their allies to put their shoulder to the wheel and move it up the hill. So thank you once again for joining me.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.